Everything is about to change for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense once they get back from their bye week when this team plays the Cleveland Browns in Week 6 and beyond. And if you're worried about the Pittsburgh Steelers offense at this point, today's video should give you a little bit of hope. Now, there's a new feature here on YouTube. It's called the hype button, okay? And we would love it if you guys would hype up today's video to kind of try it out. So if you love the black and gold, smash that hype button for me right now. All you have to do is go down to the comment section, swipe right of that, and then it's going to show the little hype button there, and all you have to do is click the button to get some hype points for this video. We'd greatly appreciate your support if you want to help us out here. So make sure you guys scroll right of the comment section and then smash the hype button on today's show. So to this point here, guys, Pittsburgh has not been throwing deep so far this season, okay? That has just been what has been going on to this point. It's been concerning some Steelers fans because they are not, bombing it down the field. In fact, they're way last place. I mean, they're almost a full yard in last place in the NFL in terms of average depth of target in the passing game from Aaron Rodgers, all right? 4.9 yards per average depth of target is ridiculously low. And I think that, some Steelers fans are kind of concerned because it's like if we're just throwing a bunch of screens and we're throwing a bunch of checkdowns and we're not throwing the ball down the field, how is that going to be a sustainable model for offensive success? Well, something that you need to know is that the Steelers are number one in the NFL right now in yards after the catch. DK Metcalf, our new number one receiver here in Pittsburgh, is number one in the league in YAC as well. So right now the Steelers are doing a really good job of getting the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands quickly, but allowing their dynamic playmakers like DK Metcalf, Jalen Warren, and more getting a great yardage after the catch is made. So I think that is the first thing that I want to talk about here, guys, is that they're doing a really good job getting high percentage looks for Aaron Rodgers, and he's executing the offense at a high level because they're seeing a lot of too high safety structures. And the reason why, that they're not throwing deep right now and they have to rely on yards after the catch is because NFL defenses are playing lots of too high coverages versus Pittsburgh. So if you think about it, like when you have an immobile quarterback and he's got some pretty shaky pass protection that can't hold up forever, and teams are playing lots of too high safety coverages and they're trying to take away the deep pass for Aaron Rodgers, then what are exactly the options for Rodgers to take advantage of, right? Like I said, if you have an immobile quarterback, you got shaky pass pro, and then, you get that too high safety coverage, that's going to open up more opportunities underneath. So Aaron Rodgers, being the smart quarterback that he is just taking what the defense is giving him, right? What's the expectation here? That he's going to throw it into super tight windows down the field when they got a bunch of players playing deep? I think that's a really dumb way to play the position. It's going to lead to more interceptions. And that's obviously not the model that the Pittsburgh Steelers want in terms of the way they want to play offense. And, some encouraging Aaron Rodgers stats that I would point to here, guys, that show that he's actually performing pretty darn well right now is when you look at the efficiency numbers. His yards per attempt, even though he's dead last in average depth of target, he's 32nd among starters right now in that area. We just talked about it, 4.9. Right now he's at 7.3 yards per attempt. All right, so like I said, he's doing a good job finding the right person to get it to in the progression. And he's allowing a dynamic playmaker like DK Metcalf or Jalen Warren get the yardage after the catch as opposed to before the catch. So he's around league average in terms of yards per attempt, so that's pretty darn good efficiency. Then his passer rating is top 10 in the National Football League right now. He's top 5 in touchdown passes among quarterbacks as well. And then the advanced metrics here, the EPA per play, it's around league average. And then the completion percentage over expectation is 3 points above the expected number given what the Steelers have had so far this season. That ranks in the top 12. So Aaron Rodgers is playing at worst an average level right now, even slightly above average in my opinion to start this season. It's not like he's playing at an MVP level or he's completely carrying the Steelers offense or anything like that. But these narratives and PFF grading him as the worst starting quarterback in football because he's not throwing the ball down the field, I don't think it's taking things into the proper context. I think Aaron Rodgers has actually been playing a really smart brand of football, and hey, look at the results. The Steelers are 3-1. But with all this said, I think we're about to see a very major switch for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense when they get back from their bye in Week 6 when they play the Cleveland Browns, and then I think it's going to continue for the rest of the regular season. I'm going to reveal what I think that major change is going to be here in just one moment, but before that, fill in the blank for me right now. Aaron Rodgers is a top blank NFL quarterback right now. Is he top 15? Is he top 10? Is he even top 5? Does he just stink? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds, and when that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. So in Dublin, the Pittsburgh Steelers debuted their new quote-unquote jumbo 12 and 13 personnel packages. And what that means is you've got your normal 5-man offensive line, right? Broderick Jones, Isaac Seumalo, Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick, and Troy Fautano. But what they started doing differently that they weren't doing in the first 3 weeks was they started using jumbo tight ends, all right? And you got Spencer Anderson in there, who's an offensive lineman, playing in as an eligible tight end there on the wing, as well as Darnell Washington, who we all know is an excellent blocker in his own right. So essentially, the Steelers have 7 offensive linemen on the field at one time, and the Minnesota Vikings tried playing the Steelers the way that the other 3 teams tried to play them. 2 high safeties, lighter kind of nickel formations, and the Steelers just plain and simply bullied their ass all morning long, all right? And I think that this is something that the Pittsburgh Steelers are probably going to continue to utilize because plain and simply, guys, even without Jaylen Warren, their number 1 running back, they had by far the most rushing yards and yards per carry compared to their other 3 games, all right? And in the first 3 games, the Steelers couldn't run the football even from 12 and even 13 personnel, despite the fact that the Jets, Seahawks, and Patriots were playing mostly 2 high safety coverages and pre-snap shells when the Steelers actually had a numbers advantage. But the Steelers actually took advantage of that numbers advantage with these jumbo formations, which led to 121 yards from Kenneth Gainwell and other running backs there, which led to a 4.8 yards per carry number on the morning there in Dublin. Now, before, in those first 3 weeks, the Pittsburgh Steelers would mainly use Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth as their tight ends. All right, they would throw Darnell Washington in there at times, but they would never go to those jumbo looks with Spencer Anderson in as a tight end. All right, they would go with Muth and Jonnu, and the thinking was, okay, we're going to have enough size on the field to have an advantage in the run game, but enough receiving ability to be able to beat teams through the air as well. But unfortunately, the problem with that is that Freiermuth and Jonnu just weren't blocking well. They weren't executing their assignments well, and the offensive line wasn't doing a very good job either. And even though teams were playing a lot of 2 high safety shells and the Steelers had not only the size but the numbers advantage, theoretically the run game should have been working, but it wasn't because Pat Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith simply are not great blocking tight ends, and the offensive line wasn't doing a great job getting push either. So the result was defenses in the first 3 weeks would just live in 2 high safety coverages. And this is what the modern NFL defenses will do to teams if they can't run the football. Because, if they can sit in 2 high safety shells and they're not going to get punished in the run game for it, then there's really no reason not to play 2 high safety shells, because you can run a bunch of different coverages from 2 high, way more than you can run out of 1 high safety coverages and pre-snap looks. So for the first 3 weeks, the Steelers couldn't get the run game going. They couldn't really get the pass game going either, because these teams would just be taking away the deep passing concepts because of these 2 high safety shells. But last week, they used Spencer Anderson and Darnell Washington way more. They had 17 snaps on offense, most of those coming in run-heavy or at least first and second down situations, and it was a complete revelation. This team all of a sudden had a great run game, and they didn't even have their number 1 running back in there in Jaylen Warren. All right, I like Kenny Gainwell as a running back, but even he was, the first 3 weeks when he got opportunities, it wasn't like he was lighting it up. So I don't think it's a running back thing. I think it's the fact that this run blocking unit just looked so much better with the extra size, the better run blocking. Spencer Anderson in there to give them that true size advantage in the run blocking scheme. And I think that this has really been a winning formula. I think the Steelers have found the advantage that they have been looking for, because Arthur Smith, as we've discussed ad nauseum on this channel, his offense runs through the run game first. You have to establish that run to bring in the extra safety in the box, and then that opens up the play-action passing game, and that opens up the downfield passing game. The first few weeks of the season, the Steelers couldn't play this offense the way that it's really designed to be played because teams weren't scared enough of the run to sit in one high safety coverages. They just sit in these two high safety shells and take away the deep pass and force the Steelers passing game to be methodical, and it just wasn't very good. But now that the Steelers have actually found some success here with these jumbo formations, I think defenses are going to have to adjust moving forward. All right, this has been shown to be successful on film, and every single one of the Steelers' opponents for the rest of the season are going to have to adjust to Spencer Anderson, a sixth offensive lineman out there, and then Darnell Washington, who's almost like a seventh offensive lineman out there. Now, the way I think the defenses are going to adjust is they're going to have to play more one and even zero high safety looks. They're going to have to get bigger and play base personnel, but they're also going to have to take these safeties down into the box to be able to give themselves not only a size, but also a numbers advantage versus the run. And when that happens, guys, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have opportunities to throw the ball down the field. And this is the big change that I alluded to at the beginning of today's show. All right, they haven't been throwing the ball down the field. All right, like we talked about, they're dead last by a wide margin in average depth of target. But now that teams are going to be playing the run against the Steelers more aggressively because of these jumbo formations, that's going to open up a lot of opportunities in the play action game to DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin III when he gets back, Roman Wilson while Calvin's out. Roman can be a deep threat for this team and actually get some targets now that some opportunities are going to open up for him. All right, so even Scotty Miller, who's an excellent deep threat in his own right. All right, this is going to open up some opportunities, I think, for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. And I think we're going to see that average depth of target number jump sky high now because I think these defenses are going to have to respect the Steelers' size and run blocking ability with these jumbo formations that they're running out there. But, here's kind of the thing that's the downside to that is playing Spencer Anderson at tight end and Darnell Washington having a higher workload as well means that you're not going to necessarily get your money's worth out of Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth. Right now, both of them are making top 10 tight end money, and the plan, at least to start the season, was for these guys to get starting level snaps. But if you're going to be playing Spencer Anderson and Darnell Washington, somewhere between 15 to 20 snaps in a football game, that's going to lead to less opportunities for Pat Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith. And, that sucks because you're paying them all that money. You want them out there on the field. But at the end of the day, if something's not working and something else is, it doesn't matter how much you're paying the players. You got to make it work. And honestly, this is one of the reasons why I'm personally maybe okay letting go of Pat Freiermuth. I love Pat Freiermuth as a guy. I think he's an awesome ambassador for the team. But, if you're going to be moving forward by going heavy jumbo personnels, and you're going to have Spencer Anderson be pretty much a full-time tight end in this offense, does it really make sense to keep both Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth? I don't know if it really does. Now, if they want to keep him, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm not saying they have to trade Pat Freiermuth or anything like that. All I'm saying is if they continue down this path and they play these 6 offensive line packages with Darnell Washington in there, there's just not going to be as many opportunities for Pat Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith, and those lack of opportunities are going to mean that they're really not worth the money that the Steelers are paying them this year. So true or false? Let me know down there in the comment section. The Pittsburgh Steelers will finish the year as a top 10 offense. Type T if you think that's true, or type F if you think that's false. I think that, if things go right, they could be knocking on the door, which is crazy to say because of the way the Steelers' offenses have played over the last several years under Mike Tomlin and his various number of offensive coordinators. But it seems like Arthur Smith has found something that works here in Pittsburgh, and I hope they continue to run it. All right, that'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of today's show. If you guys want more nerdy, in-depth videos on the Pittsburgh Steelers like we did today, we put them out every single day on this channel, so click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Till next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.